New things are still happening. All right? That's a joke because I know I'm really young. It's okay. You can laugh at it. They're probably not going to get any better as the day goes on. All right? You guys who have been with us quite a while know that. So, I don't know how this Sermon on the Mount has been for you guys. For me, it's an every week wrestling match. It's an every week wrestling match. Me and God. Because a lot of times I think I'm doing a good job. I'm not where I used to be. I know I'm not where I'm going. And then I read the Bible and I'm like, okay, God, I still have a lot of work to do. I still have a long ways to go before I can start feeling really, really good about myself. And this is another passage of Scripture. I wondered, it's Mother's Day. Do you give a cute Mother's Day service? Do we go to Proverbs 31 and then everybody feels warm and comfortable? I gave myself a couple more years of job security. You know, I just played the game a little bit, and I actually found a great part of Proverbs 31. I actually started to jot down notes for it, was ready to do it, and God's like, why are you jumping from what you know you're supposed to do? I mean, it's just this ongoing wrestling match. And I don't say that for any reason other than I figure in your guys' life you're probably going through the same wrestling matches every single day. Every single day I think you're probably coming to a crossroads and you're going, man, there's an easier way. That's a lot more comfortable. It's not as scary. I think I can even see where I can get to at the end of it. And then there's this other way. It seems really dark. You have no idea how it's going to turn out. It takes nothing but faith. And there's no certainty it turns out at all. And yet so often God's pointing us towards that path and saying, you are people who are taught to walk, not to see where you're walking. That faith is done not by sight. And so we are in this passage today, where is your treasure? And immediately when I read this passage, as much as I love Proverbs 31 and what it means to be a God-fearing woman, I think this passage of Scripture for me hits home on something that this country needs to hear, and they need to hear it on Mother's Day. I believe that one of the greatest attacks that we have in this country is on women. And I believe it's the fact that the most important role that any woman can ever have, I'm already starting to sweat, church, and I haven't even started preaching yet. That's how much I can feel the enemy telling me, hey, shut your mouth, this is going to get scary for you, okay? Like, I'm not saying that because that's a joke. I really feel my back start sweating, and it's not the gravy. We're gonna touch on some stuff today that I don't know I'm courageous enough to say it, so I'm going to have to let the Spirit take over. One of the biggest attacks is on mothers. The most important job any woman can have is to raise her children. It is the job that is the most taken for granted in the whole family structure, is being a mom, being a mother. It happened right after World War II. All the men went to war. The women had to step up and go into the workforce to fill the jobs that were left behind by men who went to war to fight for the freedom of this country, and thank goodness they did. But when they came back home, people started to realize, man, if two of us work, we can have a nice car. And there were many nice cars coming out the other side of the Great Depression. Cars boomed, muscle cars boomed, and all teenage boys were like, oh yeah, they did. Okay? But people started to realize, if we have twice as much money, we can have twice as many things. We can live in bigger houses, we can drive nicer cars. The devil went a step further, and he really started establishing that people could have credit. And now you didn't even have to have all the money that you needed to buy stuff. We could just write a check that's blank and say, if you pay it off over time, and then people started falling behind on credit, and guess what happened? The need for both people in the household to work grew and grew and grew and grew. And we see a country today that is exceptionally greedy, even if we don't know it. Even if we don't call it greed, we're exceptionally greedy. One of the biggest things this country lacks is contentment, church. It's not a house just big enough to raise a family, and it's not a car just big enough to get me from point A to B. It is new and better all the time. It's your status. I've never seen a lawyer pull up to a courthouse and a Voyager. Okay, if you don't know what a Voyager is, it's the white minivan that my wife and I just bought. Pretty basic. Like, I'm riding around in a mom van. If your lawyer pulls up in a white minivan, you're like, that's cute for soccer practice. I'm not trusting you before the judge. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but when we talk about this today, where is your treasure? I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I'm not telling anybody in here that we have to go back to single income homes, because I know the way the world is designed, it is not a reality for many families. It is just not. But I am going to tell you that there is a satanic attack on the family, and it starts with taking for granted the role moms have to raise children. And so we're going to look at this passage today, and my hope is that for each and every one of us, we go, God, I want to live for heaven and not for earth. And that's where we're going to get to as we read this passage here in Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 24. It says, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light within you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? No one can serve two masters, since he will either hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And just think, Jesus is preaching this right after he's getting to the heart of all these issues, saying, hey, we got to get back to the heart of worship. It's that great 90s hymn that became so popular. It's getting back to the heart of worship. And he says there's two things that's a wrestling match for each of us. And the first of these is earthly stability. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moths and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. Church, there is such a need in each of our lives to feel like we have earthly stability. My wife and I, there's a red van sitting out there that looks really nice. It needs brakes, it needs struts. Just about the only thing that may be good with it is the engine coolant valve, or whatever it's called. The mechanic who fixed it for me knows. That's about the only thing new on that van. And so I firsthand know, man, you need earthly stability. It's why my family just went and purchased a new van to hopefully give us stability. But this week, I can't help but think, this desire for earthly stability, the problem is there's never a certainty in this life. I know I'm really young, but I have come to know that new cars also break down. And there's some old cars that just run forever. Just because something's new doesn't mean that it's going to be better. Just because something's brand new doesn't mean it's going to come without problems. Every single year, dealerships roll brand new cars off the lot, and the first 1,000 people to buy them, you know what they're called? Guinea pigs. Because they drive them, and then they start breaking down, they take them to the shop, and then the dealership and the manufacturer finally know what they need to fix on them. That's when all your recalls start rolling out. Those new cars, they're test. And so this idea of earthly stability comes with this reality that we need to know that earthly stability has no certainty. There is no certainty that just because you make more money, or you buy a new house, or you buy a new car, or you do whatever you think is going to make you more stable, there is no certainty that you're actually getting something that's actually going to help you. It's very possible that as long as we're on earth, it's going to break down. And so it's this idea of earthly stability. Don't store up for yourself. Don't think that because you have X, Y, and Z, all of a sudden your life is going to be in a better place, church. I have found every single time I have moved on to what I thought was bigger and better, there's a honeymoon for a short period of time, and then real life kicks in, and the sinful world kicks in, and hardship kicks in, and you realize, man, this isn't much different than it was. It's a new day, but the same that the enemy is attacking us. In church, this is the fight for your life. This is the fight for your life, because the devil wants you to be as comfortable as possible. He does. He wants you to think that there is something you can obtain on this earth that is going to make your life better. Because he doesn't want you to be discontent. He doesn't want you to be searching. He doesn't want you to hurt. Believe it or not, that's not the devil. Most of the time, the devil's attack is never going to feel unpleasant. The devil's attack is comfort, complacency, keep you in your place. Because the devil's real attack on us, church, is to make us think it's really, really comfortable in here. That this is really, really fun. That when we go to that Mother's Day breakfast, we just laugh and have a good time. And it's good. And we're like, church is awesome. This is where I want to be. Like, we are family here. Right? That's what we are. We're family. Great place to be. But the devil never wants you to step out of this place and live on mission. He never wants you to go somewhere where it's messy. Because he's okay if this flock right here all comes to know Jesus. That's war. There's collateral damage in war. You're not going to get everybody. And so the devil works in earthly stability, and Jesus is saying, don't store up for yourself treasures. Don't think that there's anything in this earth that you can do enough to get what you're actually searching for. And he says instead, seek out eternal security, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Church, if we become the type of people who we store up for ourselves things in heaven, if we go, you know what? Even if nothing goes my way on earth, I know what awaits me in heaven. I know that my last breath here is my first breath with my Savior. For eternity, I get to worship the King. That's why I tell some people, I'm like, man, if you don't like going to church on Sunday, you're going to be really bummed out when you get to heaven. It is like 24/7 worship service. It is worshiping the King on repeat every day for eternity. And so if you're not the type of person that goes, man, I like being at church, I like being around my brothers and sisters in Christ, heaven is going to be an awful place for you. And I hate to say that because I don't want to scare anybody away, but heaven is all about worshiping God. It's all about living and knowing we are living in the presence of the King. And so we store up for ourselves treasures there, going, you know what, everything I'm going to do here, I expect it to be hard because this isn't where I'm rewarded. I'm expected to be spread thin here. I'm expected to be tired here. I see people all the time who are run so ragged, and yet they have this sense of joy where it's like, you know what, I'm only here for a short period of time. 70, 80, 90 years, if you guys are so cursed to not get to see your Maker in 90 years, I'm hoping for an early exit, 68 max. Okay, I don't even really want to hit retirement. Like, Jesus can come back, or I can make my way there to see him. Like, I hope I don't run ragged and turn into one of those people that go, you're so tired. Why do you have so much joy? And it's like, one day I'm going to go home and be with my Lord. 70 years in light of eternity is nothing. This life is so short. And I'm reminded of that every single time one of my daughters or my sons have a birthday. Adley turned 4 years old yesterday. I'm like, where has time gone? You were supposed to be right here in the palm of my hand. Now the only time you see the palm of my hand is when you think you want to be mouthy like your dad is, right? No, just kidding. I don't beat my kids, okay? I don't beat them, all right? I think about it. But then I'm patient, like we sang about today. I am patient and just take stars away on their reward chart, okay? Way better. I don't know. It's not working out yet, but we're going to get back to the sermon, okay? We're going to get back here. But life is just a blur. It's a flash. It's a vapor. One day we're here. One day we're gone. And what happens when we're gone? We hear that little cliche, cheesy line. There's no hitch pin on a hearse, right? There's no trailer on a hearse. You don't take anything with you when you die. We store up for ourselves going, you know what? I don't really care what this life becomes as long as I know where I'm going. And I think that's where mothers are incredible illustrators of what Jesus is talking about here. Because I know the last one to eat in my house every single night is my wife. Okay? You can tell that by looking at me. I didn't have to tell you that. Okay? I'm not the last one to eat. Okay? I'm the first. I take that back, church. I am the last one to eat. Because I'm the first one, and I clean up everything at the end. My wife is the last one to get served a plate. I make sure there's no leftovers in the house, right? I'm just saving room in the dumpster. But my wife is the last one to eat. My wife bathes the kids. In the middle of the night when I'm sleeping like a log, she gets up out of bed. My wife serves each and every one of us. My wife, when I go home and I go, man, that sermon day was awful, right? Like, I don't know if we need to do vacuum cleaner in the church because I suck up enough in this place. You know who picks me up every single time? My wife. And I say all of that because she doesn't get a lot of earthly blessings. She doesn't get nearly the earthly blessings she deserves. Mothers don't. Mothers weep on their knees for their kids when they're prodigals and they run away. Right? Dads just get angry. Dads just get angry and try to fix everything. Moms sit there and pray and call out to the Lord. Church, this morning, we have to ask ourselves, where is our heart? Are we searching for the things of this world? Are we thinking that in some way I'm going to be able to make enough money, or I need to take a new job or start looking for a new job, or we need to do this or we need to do that so that we can be more stable? Or are we trusting that the Lord is going to provide, that there's never been a time He's let us go without yet? I asked Kelsey last night, like, man, should I share our story? And do people really care to listen to another story about me? And she's like, I don't know. You're going to do whatever you want anyway because you're stubborn. I was like, I told you that woman knows me. But 2 years ago about this time, I was out of ministry. You guys know we call it in transition. It's really, you don't know what's going on. The Lord is exceptionally dark. He's exceptionally quiet. And you're praying to God that somewhere opens up. And so I'm in transition. That's the gentle way of calling it. I'm really scared. I don't know what's going on right now. And 2 years ago, I'm long-term subbing a math class. I thought it was my absolute dream job. When I graduated, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach math. I took all the hard math classes and just derailed on me. Wasn't meant to be a math teacher. 2 years later, 2 years after I failed out of college, I ended up getting convicted, came to know the Lord, and He put on my heart something I was supposed to do for 4 years, which was go to Bible college and become a pastor. And so fast forward, I'm back. I'm like, man, I think I want to do this school thing. Well, I apply for some jobs. We have some cool phone calls, and then just dries up. I don't understand why. I mean, they were such good phone calls. We talked. It was real. We laughed. They listened to some of my sermons, and they're like, hey, you're not half bad. I mean, you're young. No, they're like, we like what you bring. And it dries up. There's nothing. I take a couple pulpit supply positions, and someone's like, oh, you need to be in the pulpit. You need to be preaching. I'm like, I don't disagree. Bank account says we're in transition too. And so I get asked to take another long-term sub job. And I agree to take it because we need the money. Well, Kelsey and I also look and go, are we sure I don't need to go back? She asked, you sure I don't need to go back to work? I'm like, maybe we need to do this. Like, I haven't done a good job of not getting fired, right? I spoke on a topic that was a little bit controversial in a church that wasn't as conservative as I am, and I ended up on my rear end. Kelsey's like, you think I should go back? And I'm like, Kelsey, I don't know that I can trust myself to keep a job. Like, I've hurt this family so many times. We have transitioned so many times because of me. I don't think I can get a man in the house anymore. I told myself I wasn't going to cry. It's Mother's Day. I'm supposed to be crying in honor of the mothers. She applies for a job, and I do what I hope you guys don't do. If the Lord opens the door, we'll walk through it. Well, the Lord's going to open doors if you don't have faith too. He's going to let you walk places where your lack of faith leads you to. Well, she interviews, and of course she gets a job. She's a rock star. When I'm married to a rock star, she's way better at everything she does than I am. We think we're going to get child care assistance, and we get denied. I have a long-term sub job. She has a full-time teaching job. We have no child care. I'm like, well, we'll just make it work for a while. We get the news of how much child care costs, church. It cost my long-term sub job. Literally, to the penny, the $32,000 I was going to make as a long-term sub. It was going to cost us $32,000 for a school year of daycare. And I looked at her and I said, why would I go to work literally to pay a daycare provider? I'm not even that dumb, okay? Like, I know I do a lot of dumb things, okay? Ask me about how I thought we were going to get rid of a mouse in the house the other day. You'll hear that I'm not always, I may have a doctorate, but I am not always that smart, church, okay? There's some dumb things. And we look at each other, it's like, okay, which one of us are going to step down? Like, which one of us are going to move forward? And I said, you have to. Like, I haven't done my job. Like, I think God's judging me. 2 months later, I'm preaching at a church. I think I'm just filling a pulpit, right? I have a friend named York who said there's a nice church out there and their pastor's going to be gone for a weekend. You should check them out. Like, they need pulpit supply. Turns into an interview. A month later, I start at that church. And my wife and I have wrestled for a year and a half now. You're not able to do your job. And it dawned on me this week, church, you know why I'm not able to do my job? And I looked at all the numbers, church, and I need you to hear this. This is really important that you hear this. I crunched the numbers, and we actually would have been making more with me long-term subbing and pastoring you guys than we are making now. Like, when we lived off just Kelsey's money versus me long-term subbing and pastoring this church for a short season, my lack of faith, church, has cost me 2 years, and it's really cost my kids 2 years of something that's been outside the will of God, because I thought when speed bumps came, I was the problem. Not that when speed bumps came, God was saying, hey, maybe you've been running this race too hard, making it about you, because you're scared you're not going to be good enough to provide. You're scared of what someone might say about you if you don't hold the right job, or you might fail. That I put myself in completely the wrong lane. And those kids are healthy. They are. Like, they didn't suffer. Kelsey just knows that when they come home, it's free range. They're like free range kids. You know, they just kind of float around and do whatever they want. There's not a lot of structure with Dad. But I tell you that story because my heart was focused on me. My heart was focused on, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. I'm not a good man. Can I tell you, before we took this pastor job, how many bills my wife and I missed? Anybody want to take a guess how many times my wife and I weren't able to pay the bills? Zero. I don't know how. We had real bills. We had rent like everybody else. You know how many times God didn't provide money? Zero. And we sat there August of 2024, and I said, I just don't know if God's going to keep providing through me. Church, my wife and I are going into a season that blows people away. She has 3 weeks left as a teacher. And I hear people talk. The quieter you are, the more you hear people talk. I hear people question. How are you going to make it? How can you cut 40% out of your budget and make it? Church, can I tell you today? I don't know how I've made it this far. Church, I don't know how I'm standing before you today. I don't know how I ended up with a doctorate, a master's degree, a bachelor's degree. I don't know how I found the prettiest girl in the world and I got her suckered into marrying me. I don't know why she blessed me with 4 beautiful kids. I don't know how any bill's ever been paid. I don't know how I got a white minivan sitting in a garage. The one thing I know is that God will provide if you are serving Him. And somewhere at the end of how are you going to make it, faith begins. Because we don't have to make it. God's already made it for us. Our job is not to see, our job is to walk. And sometimes the blessing that you're waiting for today, church, is right at the end of the ledge, asking you to jump off and go into the deep end. Maybe God's trying to take you today to the scariest place you've ever been because He's exposing you. Because I needed to look in the mirror and go, God, I am not enough. And I needed 2 years of staying at home feeling worthless, like a stay-at-home dad saying, oh, I work from home, church. I work from home. I needed that because at the end of this season that I'm in right now, God goes, are you finally going to let me lead? Are you finally going to let me step up and lead your house? Are you finally going to put me in control? Because where your heart is, so is your treasure also. Church, as I wrap all this up, I wrap this up by saying, if you need earthly blessings to satisfy you, God will give you earthly blessings to satisfy you. And when you find out that you're emptier than you've ever been, you're going to realize God wasn't in any of those earthly blessings. You're bankrupt spiritually. Earthly, you have an abundance. Spiritually, you're bankrupt. God will drive you to your knees and point you to heaven and to the fact that we don't need anything here because our home is in heaven. I'm going to invite Miss Barb to come forward. Come forward and play for us an invitation real quick. Church, what is the Lord calling on you to do today? What is that scary thing that the Lord is pointing you right towards today? And you go, Lord, I can't go that direction because I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not equipped enough. Lord, I can't forgive that person. Lord, I can't walk through this. Because maybe He's pointing you right